Good evening, everybody. Maybe it's a volume thing. That's okay. We'll turn them on in a second. I want to thank everybody for coming out tonight. We always seem to be having tech issues somewhere or another, so it's usually the microphone. My name is Danielle. I'm the executive director of Side by Side. We're the nonprofit that brings you a great start every month. Tonight, when you came in, after you registered, you were given a folder that has some materials in it. There's some articles in there for you to look at your leisure time, as well as a notes sheet that the teachers have prepared for you. So you'll be able to not necessarily have to sit and write stuff down all night. Okay, they do a great job. Yes.
Forgot to say that last time.
So that's in there for you, as well as there's a few file folders that have some game materials in there. Those will come into play the second half of the evening, okay? As well as that little baggie that you picked up on the way in, that'll come into play the second half of the evening as well. We'll end up moving from where we're sitting here to going back to the tables to spend some time creating games for you to take home. Again, I do want to thank you for your time tonight. I know that we're at the point of the year where we're just tired. This year has been long, and we're just tired. So I do appreciate you taking the opportunity to come out and do something for you and for your kids at the same time. At the end of the night, before the children return, we're going to have a raffle. We have some wrapped up games in the back. I don't want to spoil the surprise on a game night that we're going to raffle off games. Surprise. But we're going to do that before the children return tonight. Because we usually handle raffles pretty good. Sometimes when they're younger, they're like, but I want to win too. So we're going to avoid that. And then you can decide whether you're going to keep it wrapped or rewrap it and reuse it. That's okay too. So we'll do that before the children come back tonight. So without any further ado, I'm going to turn it over to Ms. Garshell and Dr. Harder, and they're going to take it away for tonight. Have a great time.
I might. You never know. Okay. Let's see. Which one was Pat? Here, is it working? Is it buzz? Maybe? Okay. Okay, so, like we introduced, I'm Dr. Harder, and this is Ms. Garshell. And we're going to do some reading and math games for first and second graders. But I thought it would be kind of fun to do a little icebreaker. We kind of do this before. If you were in school today, what would you bring for show and tell and why? Anyone have some ideas? Want to think about it? Let's start with yours. I have a lot of options. I don't know.
I can start.
Go ahead.
Okay, so I'm thinking about when I was in first grade, I was a Daisy Girl Scout, and I had a uniform. So I would have brought my uniform in to tell all the kids about what I was doing and show off my patches.
I feel like when I was little, I most likely would have brought my one and favorite doll, and I have an American Girl doll that was literally my twin. Like my mom designed it so it looked like me. So I most likely would have brought that to show off. Look, I have a mini me, and I can talk to it. Anyone want to share what they would bring for show and tell? Go ahead.
I would bring like a dolphin, a stuffed dolphin.
I like that. Bring a dolphin. You like the ocean. I like that. Anyone else?
Good snow boots.
Oh, snow boots. There you go. I like that. You like the snow or the winter? Works for me. I like that idea. Anyone else? Going once?
Anybody would have packed their book bag full of everything they could have found?
I know.
Came to the teacher, look at I
brought everything. Or tried to pack his head.
Oh, yeah.
I know a few friends in my room that would try to bring a bunny. You know? bring their bunny. All right, so our objectives for tonight are to review some reading games. We're gonna review some math games, and then we're gonna get a chance to practice some of the games. Like Danielle said, inside the folder has a couple file folder games that we're gonna put together, but we're also gonna show you different games you might already have at home that you can repurpose to practice some reading and math. But to kind of start, I wanted to talk about the importance of play-based learning. I know a lot of people hear a lot of that for early childhood, but since our friends, first and second graders, they're still on the younger side, they still enjoy play, and there's a lot of benefits to play-based learning, okay? So the science behind it, we learn best when one of the 4 pillars are present when you are doing an activity, such as you take an active role in the learning environment, they are engaged, the information is meaningful, and they get to interact in a social aspect. So when they're doing a play-based activity, one of those 4 things are typically being met during the activity. The classroom as teacher, play-based learning, I'm going to read this quote directly, so look at it. Play-based learning is its finest, utilizes the environment as a third teacher in conjunction with the students in classroom as a facilitator. A place where every activity object placed in the space has a purpose, it adds to the learning, and helps scaffold the information. So it really helps them stay focused and is used as an extension of their learning. There is purposeful play, and then there's real learning. So both of these things are happening when they have play-based learning. So we incorporate the different games. If you notice, they're engaged in their technology games, or maybe their card games, their board games. The same thing is going to happen when you make it a learning game as well. Does that make sense for everybody? Go to the next one. So then I found this little chart that kind of said 8 things parents should know about play, and I really liked it because it kind of summarized why we should be playing at home and why it is a really good idea to repurpose what you might already have or make file folder games to engage them in what they're learning in the classroom. So number 1, the children are going to learn through play. They're going to learn cognitive skills, physical ability, probably new vocabulary. They're going to socialize, literacy skills are going to improve. They're going to learn through that engagement piece. There's typically, in the normal time frame, there's a lot of play that happens in the younger grades. Not so much now because of distancing and all of that, but that's why it's important to do it at home now, because it's kind of lacking in the classroom, because you have to stay distancing and all that fun stuff. But anyways, number 2, play is more than meets the eye. There's many different styles of play. Okay, so there can be the fun play, there can be complex play, and they can provide different skills and aspects to the children. Number 3, it obviously reduces stress. The kids can feel a little bit more relaxed when they're playing games. They might not feel as though they have to do this activity, they have to do this homework, because it's something fun. They can look at it in a different manner. They won't feel so overwhelmed or overbeared based on the activity. Number 4, trust your own playful instincts. Okay, so as children, they naturally want to play. So if they're doing something that feels natural to them, it's going to naturally bring them new skills. Okay, they're going to engage in that activity better. Number 5 is healthy. They want to play. It's good for them. It's good for their brain. It's good for their social skills. It's good for their mind. All of the above. Number 6, a play is a child's contest for learning. So they often get competitive, okay? And they are excited and they want to win and they want to learn the goal. So they might be a little bit more motivated for that activity, because just like Danielle's example was with the raffle ticket, they might get really excited because they want to win, they want to do it, so they're going to stay a little bit more focused. They're going to be a little bit more willing to do the activity because it's something fun. And they're not necessarily looking at it as homework. They're not looking at it as, oh, I'm learning. They're gonna learn, but that's not what they're seeing when they're doing that activity. And number 7, play and learning, they kind of go hand in hand. You know, I often find, even today, for example, we were in kindergarten, we were making shapes. And I had the kids just playing with a digital tool. They were using pattern blocks on their iPads. And I noticed they finally grasped the concept of just moving the pattern blocks and building something. And they could tell me what the shape was, how many they used, what they were doing. But they couldn't do that a week ago. But they were like, oh, well, I get to use a new app today, and I get to draw on it, and there's a marker over here, and I can erase it, and I can do this. They got it. It made sense. But I just said, hey, we're just going to play. I just want you to explore, open it up, see what you can do. It's the same thing. So they're going to find enjoyment in those little things. And then, and number 8 is to make time to play. And I'm sure everyone already plays at home. Does everyone get a chance to play at home? Yes, no, maybe so? A little bit. So I would always suggest, just like you make time for the homework time and the reading time, allow them to play as well. It's really going to help their learning skills too.
My favorite is when they play school. Sometimes in the classroom, I'll have my little teachers who are back there at the table, and they'll have their students, and they're sitting there, and they're being me. So I love seeing that. I'm like, is this what I look like? Okay. But it shows you, what they've learned, because they picked it up, and now they're using it to teach others, and they don't even realize it, because they're just mimicking me. So, even if they're playing school with their siblings, I always credit my sister's intelligence to me because I taught her everything I knew a year ahead, so she got to advance. But playing school, give them the books, give them the papers, and you can go to town, teach their little siblings or a friend. Or I had the teddy bear classroom at one point. Let them play school,
I had reading buddies, and their assignment was to read to that little stuffed animal, and you would see them pull the stuffed animal out, and they would read it the way I would do a read aloud. They would talk about the different parts of the book, and the period, and the question mark. So they're picking up on what you're doing, so you're asking them to actively engage in a play activity. They're going to do it well, and they're going to be more excited about it. So, would you like to go to the game? All the more fun stuff. All right, so this one is a sight word game, and this can be as small or as large as you would like it. It's fairly simple. All you need are the note cards, and you just make 2 copies of the sight word, and then you flip them all over on the table, and their goal is to match them. Or you can take the same cards, and you can play Go Fish. So you pick up your 5 cards, and then you're asking the players around you, do you have this word? No, go fish. They pick it up, and it matches. They get to keep it. If not, it goes to the next person. So even something as simple as making cards on your own, we can turn into one of our games that we can play to reinforce our sight words. And this can even go with sentences. So if your child knows the sight words already, put a simple sentence using the sight word on there. Or match it. Put one with the sight word and one with the sentence. So that way they have to pull the sight word from the sentence. So it gives them a little bit more to focus on. Give them a little bit more to challenge. So you have access to this when you scan the QR code. It has all of the fun sight word cards, so if you need them. This is a fun active one, our sight word splat. So all you need is a spatula or a fly swatter. And this one you're going to put your sight words scattered about. I know some people like to use sticky notes, or you can write them on the ground with chalk. Or you can have the cards like they do in the picture. And then you have a caller who's, I spy this word, and then they have to find it. They can, run around and splat however you want. Do it outside. Put all of the, on the chalk. You can make them run up and down the sidewalk. But they love hitting stuff with the fly swatters. So they get them active, get them moving around. But then they're also looking for their sight words. So
sentence strips. And for this one, it has different things like run to the door, go down the hall, sit in a chair. And you could almost do it as like a scavenger hunt type of thing. You know, you get to one area, all right, now it's going to tell me to do a different action, and it's going to send me somewhere else. Or you can just put them all about and send them everywhere, but they have to read it. They have to sound out the words. And notice they're not long, complicated sentences. They're real short, simple. Some of them are actions they can do right where they are. But it just keeps them moving, especially now that it's getting colder and they're inside. But it just gives them simple tasks and sends them about. I really like this one. I use this one in the classroom. So this is a reading recap. And this one is a board game that you can make with a spinner. Or you can have it as just a bookmark, but it helps for retelling our stories. So that's one of the things we're really working on is how to find the important parts of a story and how to retell it. So for this one, you would use the spinner, and depending on where you land, that's the question you have to answer. So share an interesting detail, tell what you learned from a photograph or illustration. And I would go over all of these things before I read the story, so that way they know what they're looking for while you're reading or while they're reading to you. Because if not, they're listening to the story, but they might not be pulling out those specific things that you want them to be looking for. So if they didn't know they were looking for a word that they didn't know, or a word that was important, they're not going to focus on that. But if you tell them ahead of time, they're paying attention to that. They might even point it out to you as you're reading, and it's like, okay, once we get back to the spinner, that would be a great thing for you to let me know. Favorite part of the book, that one's one that they're probably going to be able to get on their own, or to be able to ask a question. This one really gets them to focus, because now you're not asking the question, they're asking the question. I can guarantee you they're going to come up with some interesting questions. And you'll be like, is that the book we were reading? But we can go back and, all right, show me where you got that question from. And you can follow up with them as well. But it gives you some ideas of things besides, all right, what was the character? Who was the story about? What happened first? It gives you a few more different questions that you can ask and tease it out. And then we went over this one already before in our reading session, but sight word bowling is a lot of fun. Another, we're inside, we have winter break. Let's go bowling. You just attach the sight words to the bowling pins. And as you roll the ball to knock them down, in order for them to count, they have to be able to say the word. So if they knock it down and they don't know the word, go over the word with them, reset the pin, and then give them another opportunity to roll the ball. They knock it over again, see if they remembered it, and if not, just keep working on that same word until they recall it. And of course, it's more fun to play with others, so invite siblings and things to play as well. But you can also add sentences on here, take it to the next level. You know our sight words? Add a sentence on. Or you can combine two games and put a sentence with action words. All right, you knocked it down, now you have to do 10 jumping jacks. Now you have to go walk 10 steps. Combine a bunch of things on there, keep them active, keep them moving, keep them reading.
And if you want, instead of maybe their strong point's not math, you can put math facts on here. You can put shapes on here, addition, subtraction, maybe multiplication, division. Maybe they have to roll it, and whenever they knock down, they have to answer the question. Maybe something else you can do with that.
All right, so board games. This is one of my favorite, is repurposing board games. So I brought some of them that I use in my classroom, and my kids were super excited when I was taking them out today. They're like, we're going to play. I said, yeah, you're going to come to side by side tonight. We're going to play. So I'm going to put this down. All right, so this is my first one. Anybody know what game this is? Connect Four. But instead of just having our regular pieces, I have sight words on our pieces. So you split the pieces just like normal, and so it gives them a variety to pick from. But in order for them to place their piece, they need to be able to say their word. Then when they connect them, they need to recall all the words that they said. So all it takes is little stickers that I added on there with their words. You could also do it with math facts. You could do one on each side. There's two sides to it. Make one a reading version, one a math version. And then all you're doing, you want to come play with me?
Yeah.
This microphone and this sound.
Sounds about right.
All right, what color you want?
Dead.
All right.
Let's see. I got dead.
Live.
New. Up. Ooh, I got up too.
Make.
Look here. That. You're not gonna make this easy.
Day.
How?
When. Hey, this one of the sight words this week.
Again.
Eat.
After.
All right, you gotta read all your words.
All right, I got up, that, again, and after.
Yay! So, back and forth. Know the words.
And then you can
Easy
do
enough.
it again.
All right. So then the other one I brought. Anybody know what this one is? Chutes and ladders. And chutes and ladders is typically played with a spinner. But in order to make it a little bit more challenging, we're going to eliminate the spinner. And we're going to use sight word cards. And so each of my sight words have a number on the bottom. So notice our spinner goes up to 6. So I use numbers 1 through 6, and I put them at the bottom of the sight word cards. So it's up to you if you want to say the harder words get more, spaces, and the easier words get less spaces, or if you just want to randomize it all together. But all of my words have numbers on the bottom. So instead of spinning, I'm going to draw a card. If I can get my word right, I get to move. If I don't get it right, it goes back in the pile, and I skip my turn, the next person goes. So instead of using your spinner, just going to keep going from your sight word cards. Easy enough. You could also do math facts. But you just put the little point values down at the bottom. I laminated them just to keep them from tearing them up, but that'll keep them busy with going through. You got to get to 100. So, 2 of them. Also on here is guess who, and guess who, you can change it so that way it doesn't have the people that we're asking about anymore. It has the words. I really need to get a hold of a guess who so that way I can make one for my room. But it's instead of saying about the person where you would say, does your person have brown hair? Does your person have blue eyes? Does your word have the letter T? Does your word have 3 letters? And then you look through all of them and put them down based on how they answer. You can also change it up for math as well. You can do Jenga with multiplication. So in order to pull the piece out, in order to keep it, you have to answer your multiplication facts. And then you can put it back up, keep playing. Legos, you can put on the sides of them different math facts, and and then they have to build their addition sentence, their subtraction sentence, whatever they're working on to connect them. And then we have our guess who again. So this one, it has the cards. You have 2 times 4. And then you can put them down and see who goes through all of their math facts first. Lots of different ideas. More math. Lots of ways that we can revamp our math ones. So for Candyland, we had different addition and subtraction facts that they had to answer in order to get those colors. Do you know what the math sorry had?
I want to say they had different addition problems that they were moving through to get their sorry. So when they spun, they had to solve different problems, and then they got to move through the board. And then I want to say the connect, it was the same thing, connect 4, but it was math facts instead. And in order to drop the piece into the, they pulled a card, they solved the problem, and then they got to drop the piece wherever they wanted. So instead of reading it from the piece, they had to read it from the card that they pulled from the pile.
Pro tip, write the words on the stickers before you stick them on the chips.
And these were some fun games that I found using obviously the bowling like that we talked about before. But I found the Go Fish. I mean, that's a very simple math game that you might already have with a deck of cards. You know, they can make 10. Maybe their goal is to try to find numbers when you put them together, it adds up to 10. Maybe they're adding up to 20. But everyone probably has a deck of cards that you can get from the dollar store, and you can easily play that game too. Pause and look at the games.
Yep.
All right. So before we read this last slide, I believe Danielle said we're going to move to the back tables, so that we can make the games that are in the file folders. So we want to head on back to the tables. Danielle said she's gonna bring us some scissors.
Alright, so
Inside the file folders, please find the one that has the built activities on it first. We're gonna start with that activity first. what you're gonna do first, there are directions, if you just wanna read them, that's all. But we're gonna start with the first page right here, as you can see, the top has, it says milk and cookies, and there's a second rectangle that describes if there's any doom, and then there's an even smaller version of it. Those three pieces, you'll go ahead and cut them out and make it glued to the front of the folder, that way you know, what file folder name that is. So I'm gonna go ahead and do that first. Before,
Just pay attention to the directions, because one side is English, one side is Spanish.
So what it'll do is the one that says milk and cookies and then that says skills, both of those get glued kind of like in the middle of the front of the folder. And then the itty bitty rectangle with the tiny picture, that actually can get glued to the tab on the folder. And when you finish those three pieces, you can glue the directions, English or Spanish, whichever your preference is. That can go inside left. Yeah. Yep, those,
Okay, that's okay. Just making
top
sure
one
you
and
use
the bottom
that.
one go on the front, and the little tiny one goes on the tab.
Si lo quiere en español e inglés, no tiene que pegarle una parte para que pueda leer la inglés en español.
Right, then once you have put the title and the tab have on there. You're then going to simply, the little cups of milk, straws, that is glued on the inside of the file holder on the right side. The final step after you have put all the milk down into the file holder is to cut the lovely cookies out. Each of them get cut out. Those are going to be the scars that you'll use for the game.
And you can put them in your Ziploc bag so that way you don't lose them, drop them. And they don't have to be perfect. You can make them like circles. Blobs. We're not judging you on your cutting.
Whatever your preference.
Cut each one, right?
Though that one can actually get glued into the back. But if you already started cutting, you want to cut all of them, it's up to you. But
You run it.
yeah, so that whole piece just gets glued onto the back, but then we keep it cut out.
That's giving you all the work. I got an Eagles cookie.
I know, yeah, it's that time of year.
Esto es aquí y este es lo que vamos a usar. Todas las galletas y este hay que pegarlo en la parte de arriba. Así también, mire, ya le es más fácil el cuadradito y luego pasarlo a los más redonditos.
No, no, vaya, pues estoy bien, ¿verdad? El sábado tengo un problema así serio.
It looks like most people are done. Most friends, Chris, I use the same all day. Most friends are done with their multi cookies. So, to play this game is basically a matching game. So if you notice on the cups of milk, there is addition problems. They will essentially have to solve the addition problem and match the cookie to the cup of milk. The cookies have numbers on it, and the milk cups have addition problems. They are within 10, so it should be simple addition for first graders.
So don't put those cookies down, those are gonna get mashed.
It does adjust in the holder. You can add Velcro to the cookies and the milk cartons, and then make that stick and they can stay. Or if you don't have to, they can just place the cookie on top for the matching piece, and that is your building cookies game. The next one we're going to make is another addition game, and it's got the green tribe in it.
So put all of your cookies in your Ziploc bag, so you don't get mixed up with anybody near you, you don't lose any out the door.
So the second addition problem, this first page page, it's got the two rectangles. Again, they're both gonna go, one's gonna go on the outside of the file folder and one should fit on the little tab again. You wanna cut those out and start there. This is basically gonna be another addition key, but it gets harder.
Yes. So these go on the inside of the file folder, and then those pieces go on top of
And then once you have labeled the outside of the folder, you'll notice there's two pieces of regular paper and two pieces of cardstock. The regular piece of paper has the addition problems on it, and the cardstock has triangles with just numbers on it. Okay, so the pieces of paper you don't have to cut out, they can just be glued inside the file folder. One on the left side, one on the right side, doesn't matter which side.
So you don't have to cut the addition problem. Those can just get glued.
Addition problems are what gets glued inside the file folder. Not glued. If you want to be fancy and cut them out and glue them, by all means, but you don't have to.
Esto de aquí,
Just paste it.
uno va por dentro,
¿Dónde le
va
pusiste?
encima,
Abajo.
en una carpeta nueva, así. Y esto, eso es lo que se corta. Este taller. No, ahí para que se vea cómo se van a pegar, ¿no? Esos son los que van a pegar.
We cut these ones?
Así.
Yeah, those ones will get cut out individually.
No, solo se va a cortar esto que
And then once you glued the addition problems to the inside, the triangles that have just the numbers, one that's the card stuff, that gets cut out individually. So it'll be kind of like the milking cookies where you have the cookies individual cut out, you'll have the triangles with the numbers on it individually cut out.
Este es el que va a pegar por ahí. Y es igual como el de los pasos de leche. Este es el corto, por ejemplo, este 11. Como usted prefiere que pegado, por ejemplo, el de las galletas, así, ponerlo. Ah, muy bien. Estupendo. Muy bien.
even if you're gonna explain it. It basically is the same exact thing as milk and cookies, however, it is harder. So the milk and cookies matching, where you're matching the cookies to the milk, is addition plus 10, okay? But the triangle addition, where you're matching the triangle with the number to the triangle with the addition problem, those answers are from 10 to 20. So one 5-order game is only to 10, the next 5-order game goes from 10 to 20. So the addition problems are harder with the triangle. But it is the same concept, we're matching a number to the word problem. Or the addition problem. And once again, if you want to store the pieces in your Ziploc bag so you don't lose them. And then we have 2 lovely trash cans up here. Make sure we don't leave a mess, please. And lucky you, if you are finished cutting your milk and cookies and your triangle, that is all the cutting doing you're going to do. The last 5-word game on the inside has 2 game board options you can choose to make with whatever you want. So, and that's why in the bag there are game pieces and there's dice. You can choose to turn it into a math game, you can turn it into a reading game, you can write words on it, math problems, whatever you would like to do, and then glue it into your file folder and play with the pieces in that.
You can also copy it, so that way you can make more of them.
Add words, numbers.
Inside the Great Start folder, not one of the file folder names, there is the
evaluation for the presentation and the night. If you want to do that, I believe Danielle will pick that up on the way out. So if you fill it out now, that would be great.
El otro, el juego este lo podía hacer acá. Y ahora falta llenar solamente la graduación. Sí, pues verás tú el uno, el que más tarde te las fotos de la presentación, de los de las y de uno Carlos, dos, tres, ok, y cuatro, te sientas, si le hace, sigue presentando, dice presentador, que estaba preparado para este taller. Y al final dice, ¿cómo podemos la información que aprendiste del taller? Jugar o intentar hacer algo, aprender material de las técnicas
Podemos usar hacer números, bicicletas. Un cycle. Un carro, pero eso no vuelve a poner como la forma.
¿Qué sería fotos de bien, bueno, me gusta, que explique y estoy pensar en mejorar. ¿Te crees que nosotros en este programa podemos hacer algo para ayudar a los estudiantes? ¿Y usted tiene alguna idea de cómo podemos hacerlo?
While you're working on that, the next side session will be in January. January 11th will be a pre-K session, and January 18th will be a first and second side-by-side session. And it'll be about talking and then it'll be a behavior session in January for side-by-side.
So while you're finishing up, I thought this would be a good time to do our raffle. I know some of you are just finishing their last 15 days. So I'm going to kind of randomly draw. This is a random number generator. So I have no skin in this game. Other than I don't have to take a bet. All right, so we have numbers 1 through 90 tonight. Our first number is number 16. We have 16 on their arm. Click on your blue wristband. No? No? All right. How about 87? Anyone you like. You're welcome. Number 60? No? All right. 46? 54? 71? Anyone see, 39. 54. 74. 12. 36. 74. 82. 40. About 45. 37. 1. I remember kissing Help yourself. 62. 69. 59, Michigan. 30. 20. 66. 8. 84. 88. 'Finish up whatever you're working on. Get your trash to the recycle bin or the trash can would be very helpful if you don't mind. Additionally, I will grab your evaluations from you on the way out. Please don't leave without your children. At all. There's also a bin up here for your scissors, if you don't mind. I'd like to use those again. Yep. We also have leftovers on the dinner table. Please take it. There's water, there's pizza, there's salad. We try to stack, our lunch.
Have a good night, everybody.
Tomorrow.